Welcome to the Building Doors Podcast, where we're not just pushing for opportunities for women's voices to be heard, we're creating them. I'm Christy Harst, voiceover actor and creator of the Building Doors campaign. Join us as we amplify voices, break barriers, and build doors together. Welcome to the Building Doors Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Harst, and today we're opening a conversation up about what it's like for people with disabilities to work and thrive in the voiceover industry and, quite frankly, beyond. My guests today are three incredibly talented voice actors whose passion for their craft far exceeds any limitations others might assume they have. By sharing their stories, I hope we can all gain a deeper sense of empathy and understanding, not just for those in voiceover, but for anyone navigating the workforce with a disability. Joining me are Dee Alvis, who was born with spina bifida and has built an inspiring career in voiceover after years in radio, music, and marketing. Doug Bartling, known as the Quad Father, a quadriplegic voice actor from Saratoga, New York, whose determination and humor, yes, humor, have carried him from on-air radio to national VO work, even a role on Law and Order SVU. What's that? What are they? Criminal offenders in the justice system. I don't even know if I answered that. I don't even know if I said that right, but you know, the intro. And Terry Briscoe, a voice actor and advocate who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2014. Terry has used his voice to raise awareness for the MS community, lending his talent to the National MS Society's Pathways to Cures campaign and being honored with their 2022 Inspirational Award for his work. Today, we're going to talk about the barriers that still exist, the accommodations that make a difference, and why no one should ever be crossed off a list of potential hires simply because of a disability. So let's get into it. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, hey.
Wait, I have something that will help.
Let's go.
Yeah. I love how everyone howled. That was amazing.
DJ Christy. Thank you for the
everyone.
lovely intro, Christy. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And I want to dive right in.
That's the nicest thing anyone said about all three of us together today.
Oh,
Amen.
I know. Let me just give a little bit more background. So last year I went to VoiceOver Atlanta. It's the industry's #1, or I would say largest voiceover conference in the United States. And these three gentlemen were a part of a panel about disabled voice actors and how they navigate their work. And I attended the panel and I was in awe. I left feeling ingratitude. I left humbled. And I left inspired. And I thought to myself, I need to have a similar conversation for Building Doors. So I'm excited that all of you are here. Let's dig in. And I first want to get a sense, to have our listeners and viewers get a sense of what about VO keeps you excited and fulfilled? Like, why VO? Why VO of all careers?
Who wants to start?
Go ahead, Terry. Who wants to start? Who wants to get the ball rolling?
I can go, sure. Everything. Honestly, it's the thing that I've wanted to do literally as far back as I can remember. I've been. The story goes, when I was a little kid, I used to lay under my coffee table and I used to watch TV when I was a kid, and Transformers and imitating Optimus Prime, and of course, back in those days, we still had like crazy commercials. They were like, it was for the Columbia House commercial, and Dave Fennoy was the voice of the Columbia House commercial. And I still remember it to this day. Now, it was the "No, my brother, you got to buy your own" commercial. And Dave Fennoy wasn't the guy who said that, but he was the guy who was like, Columbia House, like sounds of the 70s. So I was literally a little kid trying to walk around and sound like Dave Fennoy, right?
That's so cool.
I imitated all of these things. That was crazy. I was on his show earlier this week, which is actually, it was so crazy. It's so crazy. Just all the full circle moments. And it's just, ever since I've carried that passion with me my entire life, but I never thought to actually try and do it, even though I worked for a radio station in college, which TU, baby.
Towson University.
Yeah. But they never put me on the air. I worked promotions instead. And but I've always had that love for just like using my voice. I at the time was rapping instead of doing voiceover, which was, a whole different level of fun. But as I got older, I was like, you know what? The pandemic came around and I said to myself, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go for what I've always loved. I'm gonna do it. I'm throwing everything out there. I'm gonna do it. It's difficult. It's difficult at times, as we all know. Voiceover is not a linear path for virtually anyone. Right? It's very circuitous, and, ups, downs, lefts, rights, and all that stuff. But every day, I get to come in here and do the thing I love. So it's all been worth it as far as I'm concerned.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. That's great, Terry. You hit it right there. It's not an easy industry. You got to have thick skin in order to maintain in the VO industry. So for us, we have our unique experiences with our own life, but we all got that stuff, right? But we all kind of go down a different path. So for me, I did radio. I was a radio guy. That's all I knew. I didn't know about the world of voiceover. So I wanted radio. Strictly just, have my own show, talk about, my disability is fine. The Quadfather name came up during that time anyway. So it was kind of like, it was going to be motivational, funny, talk sports. I had the lineup, 60s, 70s, old school hip hop. It was really, and then I got offered my own show at another area. But to get there, I had to get up at 2:30 in the morning to get there for 5. I'm fine in the morning. Then on the way home, I get tired. I'm falling asleep at the wheel. It was detrimental to my schedule. And you either make good money or you don't make great money in the radio thing. So I walked away and became a public speaker and found out about voice acting through this little spot in Albany. And I went there, and they were like one of those companies that say, yeah, you got a great voice. You should do ... It was, upselling their program. But I am indebted to it because then it got me started saying, okay. And then I realized, all right, this is a challenge that I'm going to go after. And you have those victories throughout that as you grow and you coach and you train. There's no skipping steps, marketing and, getting your branding. And it's just a lot of stuff and a lot of money, so you got to have some thick skin and be able to take the nose and keep on reaching out, going to conferences and just trying. But the reason why I still do it is because I love it. I love it. I love the people. The industry's got the most beautiful souls I've ever met in my entire life. And you meet those folks at the conference when you see everybody on the little screen. When you're at a conference, it's a whole nother vibe. And so on the bad days and when you feel like you're stuck a little bit, it's like, you're not stuck until you stop. So that's kind of how I roll.
Wow. Now I'm inspired. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that part, dude, because it's I've been feeling like this industry may not be for me anymore because it's been so hard. This has been okay because it's Christy, she's a sister, and this is about real talk. This year has absolutely freaking sucked for me. Okay, like
you're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So like what Doug was saying was like meeting other people and getting to know folks and being inspired and having that community. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have been like, cool, I'm going back to selling insurance or selling my plasma or other fluids. I don't know. It'd just be like the desperation. So that's where I'm going to come at you guys for real with this. Okay, how I got into this wasn't so much a passion, wasn't so much like a calling or like, it was my body's failing me. I come from a broadcast background, so I've used my voice forever. But I was trying to do like real jobs, selling insurance, doing marketing stuff, which, I took. You guys ever get on one of those marketing job interviews and it's not really marketing? It's just straight like demeaning yourself sales. Like I'm cooking mini pierogies in bum F Southern Virginia that I drive 3 hours for at a Costco for my marketing job. Well, I'm pushing 40, and this is what I'm doing with my life to support my family. Like my wife and I were about to get married. Like we said our wedding. My boss at the radio station fired me, and I was like, "Cool, 10 months away from my wedding. Don't
Awesome.
have a job, got to figure something out.
Yeah.
Now, I was good at insurance. I just didn't feel like there was integrity in that because I wanted to go into that with I'm here to
Sure.
help people. And then I found out like, oh, the two companies I work for, maybe they helped some people, but I felt like they were also like taking advantage of people.
Overlook them.
Yeah. Especially like during this time of year, open enrollment for Medicare. We've all done the commercials or auditions, as voice actors, right? Like, so it got to a point where I was just like talking to my wife and I was just like, babe, I don't, and she was like, you got to go for this. And I was like, I don't, how? Like, we're moving to Florida, build a closet studio, do all that stuff. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, it came out of like, I don't know what else to do. My body was failing me. Not just spina bifida, but I had like a lot of back issues that are, I guess, directly a result, but also indirectly a result. Where we thought I was going to be in a wheelchair, like back in 2016, and luckily, thank you to plasma injections and platelet injections and the stuff that finally got approved with like stem cell research and stuff. So I wouldn't be walking today if it weren't for that. And then like laser treatments, which I will be going to later today, as a matter of fact. So. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of maintenance. So, if I'm being perfectly honest, it wasn't like, yay, I want to be the next Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse or, Optimus Prime. Shout out to Peter Cullen. So, like, it was just, this is about all I can do, like, physically capable to do that I might be good at. Because I had a history of it from the broadcasting days and done a ton of commercials. And then, man, I've never been so humbled in my life to be like, oh, this takes a whole lot of talent that I have not yet achieved. And that was the moment where I was like, all right, you know what I mean? So I am grateful for this industry and for people like all of you, because I know all of you like personally. And I don't know where are we at, October 17th, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I'd still be like giving this my all if it weren't for people like you, my Vomunity. So thank you, all three of you.
Oh, that's so nice. And you're not alone. You're not alone. I think a lot of people are trying to learn how to adapt with the advent of AI and off the heels of the pandemic. Everybody and their brother thought they could get into a closet with a USB mic and become a voice actor. So there's so much that's been diluted. The dilution started during the pandemic, and it just keeps going on. And I have hope from the conversations that I have with the brands I speak with who are adamantly against using AI voices, that AI will find its place somewhere in our industry. And just as we had to adapt with the advent of the internet, we will adapt successfully here. So my question is, after I listened to all of you answer that question, and we talked a little bit about it before we pressed record, and I want to start with you, Doug. How do you manage? What is a day in the life, the schedule, the energy, the workspace? Talk about what that looks like so people can understand, because there might be people listening who go to a traditional 9-to-5 job. They get up, they shower, brush their teeth, grab a cup of coffee, get in the car, drive to work, and they go.
Yep.
Talk about what that looks like for you. And Doug, let's start with you.
Yeah, Christy, you don't ever want your disability to come in the way, right? You don't ever want to make an excuse why you have to go to a doctor's appointment, or, why I'm in bed at 8:00 because my assistant, I'm going on their schedule, because you have to rely on people to help you get your clothes off, because I don't have full dexterity of my fingertips. My day starts and stops with somebody else doing it for me. So I have to verbally direct them on how to do it. Then they have to do it the way I would like that to be done. You only get through with one thing: patience. And a lot of trial and error, a lot of frustration, a lot of toads that you kiss, of assistants that you train, you get them working, and then they sleep through their alarm, and you don't start your day until 11 because of somebody else. So you always have to have a plan B, a plan C. So like I have the Mike Hero DSP under my bed in case I need it if I'm in bed and somebody can't show up to bring my roll in my recording studio. But that's what we do. We have to do that, like Dee was saying, it is, like all of us can relate. It is hard to do and stay. And, You got to get training and you got to get a website, you got to get marketing, you got to then coach, you got to stay fresh. And what happens when you're not getting agents to give you auditions to stay fresh? So you have to work at it. So for me, my day starts off by I have a great staff now. They come in, they know what I need first thing in the morning, and they know I'm very independent. Help me get my pants on, get me in my chair. I got the rest. That's how I go. You're here to help me, dry off, out of a shower, and that kind of thing. But it takes a lot of saying. So for me, I had to have balance. So I found God, and that faith of saying, okay, I don't like what's going on here. What can I do? Okay, you got to stay healthy. You got to sleep. You got to drink. You got to do these things. Your body is our first priority. It's our first job. But then it's also saying, but wait though, VO is as important. Yes, I want to. No, it's not. No, it's not. You got to have balance. So I start my days off unless I have an audition or I have like a booking or something. I get up, I go to the garage, I get under my hand cycle, I pike about 5 or 6, 7 miles. I read a little scripture, I pray, have a half a smoke, and get going. There it is. That's my routine. Balance, routine. So on the bad days, on the frustrating days, it can start off like that. However, somebody's got it worse.
Wow, Doug.
Got it worse. So
wow, Doug. Dee, Terry?
All right. A day in the life. So hard to follow that, but like again, for me, I am not I'm more ambulatory than Doug is. So that's again where it's like awesome. When I think my day or my life or whatever, my pain, whatever it is, I got a friend like that who I can talk to.
Amen.
And I say, you know what? What the F am I complaining about? When my man right here, the quad father, is out there doing the damn thing, what's my excuse? I'm able to walk, not very well, but it does make for some cool dance moves.
Amen.
On the dance floor.
Dude, I could just imagine, D. I bet you it's awesome. It's
like
awesome.
Cabbage Patch, baby.
Cabbage.
But like, yeah, it's just kind of like, for me, most of the time, it's more. What's crazy is I think a lot of people may or may not know that a lot of times with physical conditions, it affects your mental health, and that is usually my biggest obstacle, right?
Yep.
It's like, why am I bothering? This bed is super comfortable. Why don't I just stay in here? Like, there are days I'll be like this, right? Any auditions? No? Okay, might as well go back this late.
Oh, no.
Like, unless, because I live on like West Coast time now because of this job, because like last night it was like 12:30. I'm like, no, I'm still grieving the Steelers loss, so I'm not going to do this audition right now. So I was just, it's like, but that's the thing. It's like, it's always coming at you in a sense. And that's where I'm like, so I think what Doug said, like, again, I just got inspired having this conversation. Maybe I need to carve out like an hour each morning to be like, or the start of my day, whatever, and just do something that isn't just dictated by devices, the agents,
and
clients, whatever.
Dee, you said something at the panel at VOATL that really made me think. And it was something along the lines of, you see me sitting here now, but I can only sit for so long. And then I get in pain. But I would never know that if you didn't say it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's this thing of, just because you don't see the disability doesn't mean it's not there. Just because you think he's now more comfortable sitting doesn't mean that's the fact.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why I was glad to have Tina's dog with us, because I just sat on the floor in that panel at one point because I was like, I can't. You guys saw me. I was like a child, like be like, I can't sit still. Give me a lollipop.
Gee, that was awesome, buddy. It was absolutely awesome.
That was the realest thing that happened, man. Like, really.
But that's the other thing. Like, I think that's the other. Like, I'm a big animal person, right? Been rescuing animals, everything. That's what saves me a lot of times. Like, I'll just like when I'm going through it, my dog, my cat, I'll just be like, all right, let me get some of that time, and I get that energy. And my stepson's grown; he's out of the house. My wife and I, we go crazy we're still kids at heart in a lot of ways, So like that's the other thing, is having somebody in my life, not just the people in my circle, my community, but like directly in my life. That's a big thing. Is like I learned the last couple of years, especially during pandemic, I was just like, I had to cut a lot of negative people out, man, because it's like some people, I hate to say it, man, but I think everybody in this room, everybody who listens to this, watches this, is going to understand. Sometimes your people want you to fail.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
mic drop.
Woo!
There it is. Amen. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was like a harsh lesson. I think we all like are aware of it from time to time, but in this particular space, because you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you're not John Hamm, you're not Morgan Freeman. What do you think you're doing? Or, and it's like, you don't have to be that. Nope. You can make a successful career out of doing a bunch of stuff that no one's ever going to hear.
Okay. Yes, there are people in our industry, for anyone listening or watching that doesn't know, there are voice actors who earn 6+ figures and you've never heard their voice once.
Yep.
And I think as voice actors, when you introduce yourself, hi, my name's Christy Harst, I'm a voice actor. Oh, what have I heard you on? Yep. You know what?
Yep.
You don't have to hear me on anything, darn it. You don't have to hear me on anything. Terry, you have multiple sclerosis. I used to work at the National MS Society. It was my first job out of college. I worked as an event coordinator.
Yeah.
And I'm very familiar with the disease. I'm also familiar with how deceiving it can be to not only people on the outside, but people who have it. And so some days are better than others. And you might even have a year that's great. But then you have, 3 months that are not so great. So what does your schedule, like I from what I know of MS, you could be chugging along just fine and you've got all these plans and then you wake up and you're like, MS decided to be with me today. And then what do you do? How do you manage those things?
Oh, yeah. MS decided to be with me on Tuesday. So if we were doing this on Tuesday this week, it would have been a no-go because I woke up and my right hand was just like, I'm just not going to work for the next day and a half. And it's just like that. We have all these grand plans and you're like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and I'm going to do this and this and this. And like Dee was saying, your West Coast agent stuff's coming in and you're like, oh, it's going to be fantastic. I'm going to go to bed early tonight, get a fresh start the next morning. And you just wake up and I don't know, sometimes a foot's gone. Sometimes it's both feet. Sometimes it's a hand. This is why this is actually going piggybacking on what Dee said earlier. I came into voiceover because I love it, but also because I wanted to set myself up with a job that I could go forward with in the future, knowing the usual progression of MS. Right. Mm-hmm. I was doing non-emergency medical transportation, ambulatory transportation for people who got injured on the job. So how long was I going to be able to continue on with that as I got older and it most likely progresses, right? And what if I wake up in the morning and my right foot's gone and never comes back? Because that's a possibility, right? When I had my first bout, which let me know that I had MS, even before I had it, my first episode, I was running across the street. I was a bus driver, and this is the danger zone. I was a bus driver and I was running across the street and my legs just gave out in the middle of the street. Right. And it was like, and the worst thing about it is not even that it gave out in the middle of the street. It gave out in the middle of the street where I was on the downside of a hill. So cars would not have been able to see me laid out on the street. Luckily, it was my feet that gave out and not my arms. And, being a former military man, I know how to low crawl. So I low crawled myself out of the street with dead legs, right?
How scary.
And I sat in the middle of the median just like, what the F was that? Right? So I had no clue that I even had it at this point. I wasn't even diagnosed until, I think, 3 years later after that. Yeah. And so obviously being a bus driver was no longer in the cards. So going from that, I opened up my transportation business where I could call all the shots and take the trips when I knew I could take them, right? And that got me through up until I was like, okay, how long can I do that? My business now, I still have it technically 11 years now. I've had my business. Voiceover has been full time for me. This year was the first time I've gone full time. And so like every morning is a new adventure. because you just never know. As I mentioned in Atlanta, we were talking about the invisible. I'm the one on the panel with the invisible disability, right? So everyone's just like, "Oh, you're fine. Why are you there?" Well, yeah, I could be fine right this second, but at any given moment, I could develop a permanent disability to a part of my body. Vision, people have lost their vision like in one afternoon, right? I fell in the street. That could have ended very poorly. You know what I mean?
So that's got to be like an emotional battle as well, because wondering when and if, and that's got to be really scary, Terry. So I applaud you going through that, because that's
I think that's an important point too, where it's like, I can't speak, Doug, for you, but like I know, like there's an expectation of what may or may not happen with me, right? Like I know certain things can trigger this thing or that thing in my condition, but to have something that you absolutely have no idea when it could, you know what I mean? Like,
So scary.
that's, I think, like an important point, Terry, where like I think people got to understand, like, imagine, I don't know, I guess like to somebody who's perfectly healthy and think like at any point you could have something that makes whatever, like some part of your body fail, and knowing that, like how, I mean, like that's in a lot of ways, that seems more terrifying to me than like having something that's steadily bad, I guess. You know what I mean? Like just trying to be sympathetic and empathetic to the situation where I'm like, you brought up a point where I never thought of, Terry, where I'm like, oh, wow. I know that lightning may strike me, but it's not that likely. You're dealing with like lightning could strike me 3 times today.
Yep.
Like that's
different.
Yeah.
It's
very
that
kind of shows. Yeah, that kind of shows. Like, I would say for me, I might be a quadriplegic and paralyzed from the chest down. But for me, what Terry's got to me is much more. And then you have Tony Jackson and you have Keaston White, who's a higher level quad who relies on everything. So we all have a story, but we're always like trying to say, "Yo, I love you, bro. You're so good." That's how we all met. We all met at these conferences.
Absolutely. I actually met Carlin Tools. I met Carlin Tools on LinkedIn because he saw something that I posted, and in my tagline says MS Warrior, right, an advocate. And he contacted me, and I'd never, we'd never met before. And he contacted me. He was like, "Do you have MS?" He was like, "So do I." And I was like, and this is something that is a myth within the MS community because of how healthcare has been. And, there's some race things that are some untruths that have been passed down throughout the years. It was like Black men don't get MS. Like this was a falsehood. It was just like perpetuated throughout the medical community. So when another Black man in the voiceover community contacted me and was like, "I also have MS too," and we were happy both to be going to Atlanta. That was the first time I met Dee there. That was the first time I met Dee. I didn't meet Doug until the next barbecue the next year, I think.
Yeah, the barbecue.
Yeah, and so he reached out to me, and I was like, so that's when I really started building my disabled voiceover actors community. You know what I mean? And then the disabled voice actors database was something that I joined, and we started finding our tribe within a tribe.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the physical. It's very clear. Each one of you has something distinctly physical that challenges you every day. But Dee, you kind of touched on it. There's a lot of mental and emotional toll. How do you navigate that while pursuing your goals and managing work and maintaining balance in life? Because let's be real. I think now more than ever, we realize that mental health is a crisis in our country. But for people with disabilities, it's a totally different ball of wax. So, Dee, I know that you're super passionate about mental health, and I'd love for you to kick off this section talking about how mental health is a big part of your day-to-day.
I mean, a lot of it was understanding that like it needs to be addressed. I was somebody that I thought, I'm like, look, I've already been cursed with enough. It can't be this too, right?
Right.
Like that's how I felt like
Wow.
all through my 20s. And, just thinking like back to teenagers, right? Like, oh, you get depressed because you're a teenager. It happens, hormones, blah blah blah. Like, and then always trying to stay positive with stuff and being like this. It's like this. My shadow is slowly starting to, I kept this distance from the shadow, and the shadow's getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And there was a point in, like my late 30s where I was just like, ooh, this needs to be addressed. And I won't get into all the history and everything like that, but let's just say like there were some dark times, there's some horrible mistakes I made that I've owned up to at this point in my life. But understanding that, and that's the thing, like doctors would just be like, oh, no, let's treat not that there's like medicine for spina bifida. By the way, it's October, it's Spina Bifida Awareness Month. Most people aren't aware of that. So, because we got to compete with the boobs, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, like, I don't know whose idea was like, let's go against, like, let's take out the champ. Like, no. That's why I was like, nobody's aware that it's Spina Bifida Awareness Month. And I joke about that every October. But, like, sorry. Again, that's another thing. I use humor to keep myself from, like,
absolutely
in traffic. That's always been my thing. And that's so many friends, family, whatever, like we talk about the suicide thing. Your colleague Marion Mills, like I've done stuff with her on her shows and such, and the previous Building Doors. That's one of the things, like, I think a lot of people don't understand, like, that friend who may seem happy-go-lucky, and it's always like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I never knew they were sad. And it's like, that's the problem with mental health, right? It's like, most people aren't going to go around being like all emo or whatever, like they're going to just like, everything's cool. You could be chilling with them one day, think nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
I know I became really good at that. And maybe that's why I became a voice actor, because I was good at acting like everything's peachy keen, everybody. Let's just go, but meanwhile, I was just like, how many bullets are in the magazine? Straight up, real talk. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where I think, and again, for men, I think it's another kind of thing where there's a certain stigma to it, where we're not allowed, especially, Gen Xers and Zenellian. What do they call it? What are we? Zenellian? Zennials. I don't know. I'm an old Gen X man, so I don't know what but like, no, it's just like men were not supposed to talk about these things. Yeah. And that's where, like, I realized, like, when I was going through it, I was like, and having these conversations, and every now and then a brother would be like, dude, I feel that. Like, is it cool to talk? Yes. And kind of open up those channels and do that, and realize, again, pandemic, I think, amplified it. For a lot of people, right? Like, I work with a lot of folks, not work, but like we have our groups that are like people coming, battling back from depression, suicide, drug abuse, blah, 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 whatever, like all kinds of issues. And I saw the spike during the pandemic where it's like people who are doing great and, clean and sober for 15 years were like, all of a sudden I want to use because I'm isolated. I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, let's start.
You're lonely.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Humans want connection, man. I think that's the other thing that's difficult about disability a lot of times is, like, for me, I think, which might be different for Terry and Doug, because, like, I've had this my whole life. So in a way, it's almost a benefit to me because, like, I've known nothing else. And that's why I'm oftentimes, like, just blown away by the courage, the mindset, and by my friends in the disabled community who, like, I can't put myself in their shoes, but I would imagine if I was normal, healthy my entire life, and then all of a sudden circumstances said, not anymore.
Yeah.
I think I would be more resentful. I think I would be like, and I've seen that from people, like,
yep. Yeah.
That's when people are like, oh, why did God do this to me or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, and people like lose their faith, they lose their hope, all that kind of stuff. So I think for me, where it came from was like, this is all I've ever known. So I've learned to cope in different ways, but also because I was fighting this battle for so long on the physical, I ignored the mental and emotional, and that was toxic. So,
and Doug, Doug, how do you feel about what Dee said, that, he's had it his whole life and he looks to people like you as brave and courageous?
Well, Terry and Dee, obviously the feeling is mutual. You guys inspire me as much as on my down days. I mean, we all get them, right? We all get those moments that we think we're not good enough. And you see your friends booking huge clients and huge agents, and you want that. And you don't want to be, like learning how to be happy, genuinely happy that they're succeeding. And, and that's the thing, like it's real talk, like Dee was saying, you live your life. I was a bartender. I played sports. I did construction. I was also a cocaine abuser. I ran the streets, bartending. But then I got my life good. I was about to get married, have a kid. And 2007, I had a miscarriage. And then 2 months before my wedding, I broke my neck in a diving accident after I changed my life around. So what do you do when you go from rock bottom to redemption, only to go back down to rock bottom when you get your whole life straight? Now you got to learn how to brush your teeth, comb your hair, cath, go to the bath, all of these things that were like, what? Wait, hold on. What? How do I, and what's this other stuff going on? So, like you have the physical health that goes with it. Then you learn the emotional health that comes with it. Mm-hmm. And there's only one way. My mother battled with severe mental illness. I actually went to college for my human services degree to be a service coordinator, a social worker, to help people. That's how I started doing my mission that I do for like over the bridge and stuff, giving out to the homeless, because I could have been that. I ran that street. I had my life changed. And all of a sudden now I had a great life going. And then my fiance left me after 2 years after I got hurt. What do you do then? Now you're paralyzed. You got your dog. And now what? Who's going to love me again? What am I doing with my life? Well, you have two choices: sink, swim, pick. And
so how does that affect your faith in being that happened after you got your stuff together?
Yeah, Terry, I found my faith after my disability. Actually, I started praying into something bigger, hoping to get use of my legs or arms, and trying to say, hey, this can come back, knowing nothing about a spinal cord injury. And how do you do it while training people on how to live your life, which now you don't know what to do, let alone you got to go tell somebody else to do it for you. How does that happen? But you trial and error. And I mean, it's straight up. I mean, I've been seasoned with hardships, I mean, a lot of my bad choices, a lot of things, but however, that's also kind of given me who I am. I feel that people change. People need somebody to tell them that they're special, that they're good enough, that, I try to say something good to everybody that I come across, even when I'm feeling not good enough. Inspire somebody else, help somebody else. What can you do? Maybe you talk to somebody on the phone, and that's the first positive thing they've heard all day was you telling them they got a great voice. Wow, you're really good at customer service. And then they just stop and like, what? And I'm just telling them a fact. But they're so shocked because not a lot of stuff in this world, man, it's evil out there, and there's a lot of bad stuff.
Not a lot of kindness.
That's what's great about being out in the real world, bro. Like, I think a lot of times maybe we have a little bit more perspective because of what we deal with. I laugh a lot of times when I see people online like going crazy about this thing or that thing. And I'm like, dude, if that's the worst part of your day, then
you're having a great
God bless
day.
you. That's awesome. So and I'm not, again, I don't know what their struggles are outside of that.
Sure.
I'm not judge, but I'm just like, if your entire mood, your entire day can be ruined by some comment,
a moment,
meme or misinformation, whatever it is, right? Then I'm like, I wish I was that lucky. Now, or maybe I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't say that because, like, obviously that means that maybe that person does not have a grip on how to manage, have that emotional maturity or whatever it is. And maybe that's because if they've never faced adversity, they are not equipped to handle it. You know what I mean? So, like, that's where.
Amen. Absolutely.
A whole different conversation.
Right. But that's where I feel blessed a lot of times when people are like, oh, it must be, it's got to suck or whatever, with your thing or whatever. And I'm like, yes and no, because if I think about like me, had I been born like perfectly healthy, I'm pretty sure I'd be a completely different person, And I'm not saying that would be a bad thing, but that could be. I could have turned into a-hole captain of the football team. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Like horror film villain.
Yeah, right. Who knows, right? Like, you never know. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm like, if I die tomorrow, I'm just like, I knew there was a point in my life that I wasn't the easiest or most pleasant person to be around. But I think that's why I've devoted my life to at this point, where like, whether I become a voiceover superstar or whatever or not, I don't care at this point. It's just like, I know when I put my head on my pillow every night that every single day I made it a point to make other people's days better.
Absolutely.
Preach.
Yes, preach on that. Wow, that's, boy, thank you. Thank you very much for those comments, especially about your stories and the things that you've been through, because again, I'm humbled and I'm grateful. And I hope that people listening walk away with that too. I have a couple more questions. And I kind of want to go through this one quickly, which is, what's one thing you wish more people knew, especially like casting directors and people in your VO community and producers? What's one thing you wish more people understood about working, hiring, or seeking people with disabilities? One thing.
I think I said this in Atlanta on the panel. Just, trust our talent. Trust our talent above all other things. Don't look at how we look, or if someone is in a wheelchair, or if they walk a different way, or if, hey, maybe they can't feel their hand that day. As long as I can deliver what you need in acting wise on your script, that is the only thing that should matter here. Nothing else should matter in our industry, right? Can I perform your script better than that person right there that is fully able to, quote unquote, right? If I'm the best person for the job, hire me. Give me the chance to be the best person for the job. Give us the chance, and we'll show you that oftentimes we're going to be the best person for the job. So trust us.
Doug?
Yeah, I'm going to stem right off that. Absolutely. Trust us. It's, we, in order to make it, you have to get training by the best in whatever said field. Whether if it's Joe Cipriano for promos or Marilyn Wisner, or, I've worked with so many good coaches. I would be ashamed if I missed one. Right. So I'm not going to rip them off, but they all deserve the credit, because every time you feel like you suck and then, you get going. I mean, I was terrible for years. But the thing is that just give me opportunities, give me the right coach. Then you do the training, and then you get to a level where you feel like you're good. And now how do you keep that going when you don't have the agents to give you the auditions, or from resorting to pay-to-play paid tiers in order to keep fresh on auditions? I would love to get more auditions from said reps, but so we look for better reps, right? How does that look? It's kind of catch-22. Don't you need to work to show what you got? And then, in order to get signed. So there's all these guidelines. So you try your best. And so I think that's all I feel. Let us just get opportunity, and what that looks like. I'm not sure how to operate that. But I would love to be the one to say, no, I can't do that, which I would never do. I will find a way. Let us just trust us. Terry, there it is. So
Dee?
Yeah, I think it's about the opportunities, like for me, I feel like I keep bringing everything back to the pandemic. Sorry for the doom and gloom, everybody. But we were trusted, right? Remote voice. That's my biggest concern with disabled folks, right? Like, remote voice actors kept the industry going. And then all of a sudden, it's been more and more slowly going back to, I see it from my agents and from other opportunities I get. LA, logo, LA. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, we've proven to you that we have the capabilities, like building a home studio that's like up to snuff is not a simple task and not a cheap task. And that's another thing I think, like, I understand where a lot of folks in the casting space are like, oh, everybody's just using, whatever crappier technology. They just assume if you're remote, you're not. But I'm like, we proved to you that we were. So for disabled, I mean, it's bad enough for every voice actor out there, able-bodied folks too. But like for disabled folks, that's my concern. I'm like, we can't, like, I'm not flying to LA to make $500. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
You do this video game or $1,000. Like, no,
that's crazy. No.
And they think like, oh, well, a lot of other people would do it. I'm like, yeah, because it's simpler for them or whatever it is. But also the fact is just like, if you trusted us before and we didn't do anything to lose your trust, then keep trusting us. Simple. Like, it's just
Very,
life.
very simple.
So the last question I want to ask, for anyone listening who might be facing their own challenges, whether that be physical, emotional, or professional, what piece of advice would you share with them?
Dougie, you want to go first?
Oh, you want me to go first? You're on. Okay, I'll try to keep it as quick as I possibly can. I'm going to just speak truth here. The fact of the matter is that we all need somebody. You get by with a little help from your friends. This industry, I've met and grown with so many people because of just being a good person, and I think that goes for everybody on that panel, from Amy Geronimi to Tina Wilson and everybody down that road, Tony and Carlin and Keyston, we have a story, but we also say, you know what? We got something that we really don't want. However, we're trying our best to live this said life, but then also trying to compete in this market. The reason why you don't hear a lot of us complaining is because we don't want that to be a reason why we don't get trusted. So a lot of it is for VO specifically, don't stop. Even if you can just do one thing positive by your phone, check an email, follow something, write down a list of something that you can do tomorrow. Do something, because you can always do something. You're going to have days that you feel like doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And you might go 2 days, 3 days, but then eventually, I don't know how it works. It just comes kicking back in saying, hello, here I am, voiceover industry. Oh, okay, this is the reason why I'm in this industry. And there's always somebody or something or some kind of opportunity that says, this would have never happened if I didn't go with it. So I think with people I think it's important nowadays that people just need to know that they're special, that, just because you had a rough start in life doesn't mean you can have a rough finish. It means that people do change, people can change, and to be proud of yourself for when you make good measures. It's always easy to knock down on who we are and where we want to be. And, oh my gosh, I don't have ... I mean, I can go 50 things that I don't have. However, that is going to do me nothing to go forward. So it's like, to acknowledge it is important. To stay on it is important. For me, I try not to harvest it on it and start to say, okay, I can see, I can look, I can feel, I have a good car, I got a great family, and I will rip off I'm blessed and declared, and I will speak myself up when I feel down, and all of a sudden I don't feel down anymore. Call that the Holy Spirit, call it God, call it whatever you want. But I think if people were a little bit easier on themselves and didn't get hard on themselves, they would know and see that they do have a purpose in this life. And I'm going to stop there. I don't want to.
No, that's a great stop. That's a great stop. Yes. Terry,
I'll
D?
pick up on that, like the gratitude thing, right? Like, I think that's the thing. So I tell people all the time, like, just look, like, sit down, make a look. I'm very much like visual. So like, I have notebooks everywhere. I like to write things down, whatever, just something about the visceral experience of writing versus, again, I'm an old man. But it's like, I just feel like when you do that, you're connecting your mind, your body, like all your senses are coming in line. You hear the pen write down a list of like what you're grateful for, something like that, when you're going through that period. You know what I mean? The other thing I tell people all the time, like, for all of us who are on vanquishing obstacles, think about the fact that for me, I know I can't grow to be 6'4" and dunk a basketball, in an NBA arena. Never gonna happen. It's just like it's impossible for that to happen, right? Other than like an act of God or Thanos comes out or whatever. But like, for anybody out there that says they want to be a successful voice actor, there's nothing stopping you but you. That's it. Like, you are not limited by anything but what's in here. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if you like lost your voice, obviously that would probably hinder you. But you know what I mean? Like, there's so many folks out there doing it. Like, and I just want to take a moment real quick just to thank Kristen Paiva for and the Voice Forge for like all the help that they've been doing for other folks who have these obstacles and aren't getting the representation that
Kristen
would like. So just had to do that real quick. Shout out to Kristen. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like you can do it if you want to, as opposed to, again, me, Terry, Doug, we can't. There's certain things we absolutely cannot do because of our conditions. So voice acting, that's the beautiful thing, right? Like you don't have to be a superhero to play a superhero. You don't have to be a mad scientist with a PhD to be the mad scientist, and whatever it is. It's just like you're just able to put yourself in the space. And I think that's another thing that's why it's so important for people like us. Maybe this is like the closest we can get to living out some of those things that our limitations would never allow us.
Yeah, if we can inspire one person.
100%.
Terry?
For me, I'm gonna keep it short and simple. I want them to know that you are not alone. We have a community. We have the Disabled Voice Actors Database community. There are others like you, and don't be afraid to reach out to people whose names you might recognize. Reach out to anybody here right now. I know for a fact that they're going to respond to you, right?
Absolutely.
It's heart to heart, right? We understand where you're coming from, and there's no shame. Do not be ashamed. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are here. You can do this. We have resources for you. Just, reach out and believe that you can do it. That's it. That's all I got.
Mic drop.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
There it is.
Okay. So my question to you is, what does your door to success look like? And when you open it, what does it look like? Who is there? What does it feel like? Terry, I'll start with you.
My door to success looks like a beacon in the darkness. I see it in a dark room and I'm walking towards it. And you know how doors have that outline where it's light, you can see beyond, and you can see it, and it's rays of light that are, going off in different directions. And, that door, when you open that door is big enough for all people to walk through it. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a wheelchair, whether or not you're an NBA player that's 7'4", whether or not you are a woman that is 5'2", or a man that is 5'2". Everyone's walking through it. And when you walk through that door, there's just opportunity abound for everyone to take their particular skills. And it doesn't matter where you came from, or how much money you have, or even your physical characteristics. Just the opportunity is there for the person that fits that job the best, right? Everyone has equal opportunity across the board. Like, there's no nations, there's no walls, right? Just the only thing that matters is everybody. It's fair for everyone. And then when it's fair for everyone, then there's no reason for anyone to hate anyone else. And it's just love.
Amen.
That's it.
That's a great description. Doug?
I see a door that is handicap accessible, where I can hit the button and it opens up for me. This door is not heavy. This door doesn't weigh 50 pounds, and where you go into one way and you get trapped in there because you can't open the door to get out with the chair, right? So my door has got a little self-automated help button. And that reminds me is that, like, when you go through it, it's kind of like you don't know if you're going to get a handicapped door. You don't know what kind of door is going to be in your way. You don't know what kind of, is it going to be heavy? Is it going to be thin? Does somebody use the bathroom and not wash their hands and walk out? And now you're sitting there trying to get out of a bathroom. And you don't know what life is going to be like. Compare it to life. I didn't want to go that direction, but I'm making it real. The door is my path to get to where I want to go. If I can be grateful and happy and my family's good and I got everything under okay, and I'm good, and I got longevity in as long as I know that everything is working well for my family and me, I'm content with wherever that door brings me. Success is not a financial number. Success is being mind, body, soul, mentally, physically, spiritually. When you start to recognize the pluses in your life, the minuses become minimal. They're there, but you don't focus on them. Therefore, they don't bother you as much as they used to. So I want to encourage people Don't stop. It's okay to be where you're at. You're not alone. And just know that I absolutely second what Terry said. I might not know you. Call me. I will anytime DM me on LinkedIn. Anytime I would be more than happy to talk to you, especially if you're feeling down and out about your luck, down and out about life, down and out about we're only going to be where we want to go with each other. Right. And so I just want to encourage people that whatever your door looks like, go through it.
Oh, Dee, what does your door to success look like when you approach it? And then what happens when you open it? How do you feel? What do you see?
I'm such a nerd. So big comic book guy growing up and everything, I always think of the Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge in Thor, like literally it's like a rainbow that takes you to different dimensions, if you will. I look at it that way. And like, so in a way, it's like, I don't have a vision of like what's on the other side of that door. It's more about the door itself represents hope, opportunity, and like possibilities, like endless possibilities. So that's the way I look at it, because like, I don't want to define what's on the other side of that door, because I don't know, and part of me doesn't want to know. I just want to know that what's on the other side of that door isn't scary. It's positive. It's, all the things. It's more about a feeling, feeling safe, feeling love, feeling inspired, whatever, all the good stuff, that's what the door would look like to me. And like, so what's on the other side of it? Not so much. I don't have clarity on what that would look like, what's on the other side of it, but it's more about like what it would make me feel. And I think like it's just about positivity, stepping across that threshold and be like, yes, I feel uplifted and seen, heard, whatever, all the good stuff.
I love that. You guys did a great job answering that question. Thank you. Terry Briscoe, Dee Alvis, Doug the Quad Father. Thank you so much for joining me. Honestly, it was everything I wanted it to be and more. And thank you, the listener and watcher, for joining us and being a part of the Building Doors podcast. If you believe in amplifying voices like Terry's, Dee's, and Doug's and that deserve to be heard, you can support the mission at buymeacoffee.com/buildingdoors. I like lattes, oat milk, please. They're about $5 to $6. That's all you got to do. Together, we are helping more people step through the doors that they've been building all along. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Building Doors podcast. Want to hear more? Check out all our episodes at buildingdoorsvo.com/podcast and follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn at buildingdoorsvo. We'd love to hear from you, so call us on our 24/7 hotline at 216-307-1917 and leave us a voicemail with your thoughts. Do you want to support the podcast? Well, we love coffee. Buy us a cup through the link in the description or at buildingdoorsvo.com. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep speaking up, and let's keep building doors together.